The Millionaire and the Black Beggar, a tale of hope and change. Ryan Sinclair used to own the skyline. Towering glass buildings, sleek cars, endless money at his fingertips. He was the kind of millionaire people whispered about. Ruthless, arrogant, untouchable. But that was before the crash. The colossal failure that wiped out every cent. Now, the streets felt foreign, cold, like a cage he couldn't break free from. And then there was Lisa, a black woman with eyes that held storms and quiet strength all at once. She sat on the grimy pavement by a noisy subway exit, wrapped in tattered clothes that barely kept the biting wind away. Her voice was soft but fierce when she spoke. Ryan's first instinct? Contempt. This beggar, this shadow in his new world, how could she even exist in his story? The crowd buzzed with its usual chaos. Voices overlapping, car horns shouting, shops blaring music. But something about Lisa pulled him in. Like a crack in his armor he didn't know existed. He sneered, frustration boiling inside him after yet another bad day. "How do you live like this?" he snapped, voice rough as gravel. "How can you just sit there, begging?" Lisa blinked, looking up with a calm that surprised him. No anger flashed in her eyes, just something like sadness, mixed with a stubborn kind of hope. "You think I chose this?" she said quietly. Then her voice cracked, raw and real. "There was a time I had a roof, a job, dignity. Maybe more than you ever had." The words hit him, sharp and sudden. Ryan's chest tightened. His hands trembled at the memory. The board meetings, the deals, the lies his ex-partner spun behind his back to watch it all burn. He saw her struggle, her battle with the streets, and underneath it all, a reflection of his own downfall. They were strangers on opposite sides of a thin, bruised line. Suddenly, Lisa took a small step closer. "I lost more than money," she whispered. "Lost trust, family, myself, just like you." Her voice was barely audible over the urban roar, but it stuck to Ryan's skin like cold rain. The city seemed to pause. A few passers-by stopped, eyes flicking between them. Murmurs bubbling up like a storm about to break. The tension cracked. A fragile connection formed. But danger lurked too. Ryan could sense it. His ex-business partner, slick and merciless, was already weaving a web of lies stronger than ever, ready to kill what little was left of Ryan's reputation. And somehow, Lisa's past whispered of secrets darker than the streets they both walked. A lump rose in his throat. Could he trust her? Could he even trust himself? His heart pounded raw guilt and hope all at once. Their worlds collided violently, and maybe, just maybe, this collision could change everything. But for now, the city swallowed their silence, leaving a question hanging in the air like thick smoke. Can Ryan Sinclair truly change? Or will the ghosts of his past drag him and Lisa down into darkness forever? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this comm. Ryan stood there, heart pounding, desperately trying to decipher Lisa's words. But then, like a bolt from the blue, the world beyond them exploded. A deafening crash shattered the moment. A garbage truck veered wildly at the corner, tires screeching, metal crunching against concrete. People screamed, chaos erupted, pushing against each other in a rush to escape the sudden violence. Lisa instinctively moved to shield herself, eyes wide, but Ryan, frozen in shock, watched the truck crumple through the crowd. He barely registered the blaring horns or the frantic shouts of, "Get out of the way!" All he could see was Lisa, her calm shifting to panic, the storm breaking in her eyes. Then, time slowed as a figure stumbled back from the collision. A man in a suit, arms flailing, eyes locked on Ryan with a wild intensity. It took Ryan a moment to recognize him. Mark, his ex-business partner, the very same man who had betrayed him. "No!" Ryan shouted, instinctively reaching out. But Mark fell directly into the path of the truck, a gasp escaping Ryan's lips as he watched the impending disaster unfold, helpless. Then, silence. For a heartbeat, the world stood still. When the silence broke, screams erupted anew. The rumble of tires on pavement, the smell of gasoline mixed with fear, wrapped around Ryan like a vice. He blinked, adrenaline flooding his veins. "Mark!" The name tore from Ryan's throat. Lisa grabbed his arm, her grip tight and grounding amidst the chaos. "We have to go," she urged. But Ryan was lost in a haze of horror. Mark lay sprawled on the asphalt, his body breaking the moment more than it broke Ryan's heart. Paramedics rushed in, their faces grim and focused. But Ryan couldn't tear his eyes away. Not now. And then, the twist, what grew as a whisper in the back of his mind, suddenly screamed. He saw Mark's face, a twisted grimace, and something else flickered there. A flash, a small glint of silver. Ryan's breath caught. Just before Mark was loaded onto a stretcher, he locked eyes with Ryan, his lips moving in haste. "Don't tell her. Just don't." Shivers ran down Ryan's spine. What did that mean? What could he possibly hold back? Mark had fallen from grace, just like him. But what lay underneath the surface? Secrets lay buried, ready to rise. Lisa turned his way, eyes questioning. "What's going on?" she asked, worry etched in her features. Ryan steadied himself. I don't know." His voice came out unsteady. He said something. Suddenly, the shriek of sirens blared closer, and another officer darted into view. "You, back away!" he yelled, waving Ryan off as if he were a nuisance. The crowd continued to swell, pushing them apart, each face a mix of disbelief and horror. In that whirlwind of confusion, Ryan felt the ground shift beneath his feet. It was all changing too fast. The world spun, leaving him dizzy with new questions, darker truths. Had Mark known something about Lisa? About him? A lump rose in his throat as he watched Mark disappear into the back of the ambulance, flashing lights cutting through the night. "Ryan!" Lisa's voice was sharp, piercing through the haze. What did he mean? He inhaled sharply, his heart racing, uncertainty clouding his thoughts. I don't know! The words burst out, raw and filled with panic. But deep down, he knew one truth. Whatever secrets Mark harbored were now intertwined with both their lives. Lisa's eyes widened, fear mixing with confusion. Above the noise and chaos, an unsettling truth began to settle in Ryan's stomach. The unraveling of his world was just beginning. They stood teetering on the edge of an unknown abyss, and he knew it would take everything to pull them back. As they both glimpsed the swirling crowd, a grim realization dawned. This moment wasn't just about survival. It was about facing ghosts that loomed large and threatening. Would they both sink into the darkness? Or would they rise to face the truth together? Ryan's heart raced, thumping in his chest as the chaos swirled around him. The sirens cried out, a mix of urgency and panic flooding the air. Lisa's grip on his arm tightened, her eyes darting, searching for a way out. They'll take him, she urged again. We need to move. But something held him there, anchored in a moment of disbelief. Mark's face, the desperation in his eyes, echoed in his mind. A warning. It couldn't just be about business rivalry. Something darker lingered beneath the surface, ready to claw its way out. Ryan, we have to go now! Lisa's voice pulled him back, her breath warm against his skin, the desperation threading through like a pulse. And then from the fray, a man charged through the crowd. He was wild-eyed, clutching a black bag that looked too heavy to carry, sweat glistening on his brow. Ryan squinted. Something wasn't right. Get down! The man screamed, and instinct kicked in. Ryan grabbed Lisa, pulling her behind a nearby dumpster, just as the man dropped the bag right in front of them. An ominous ticking noise filled the air, beating like a war drum. Lisa gasped, eyes wide with horror. What is that? I don't know. Ryan's heart raced faster. His thoughts scrambled. This was a nightmare, a scene ripe for tragedy, and they were right in the middle of it. The bag shook, and an explosion of sound rang out. Shriek! A blast of thick smoke erupted, plunging the area into darkness. People staggered, gasping for breath, choking on the acrid air. A wall of confusion engulfed them, cries and panic flooding the scene. Lisa! Ryan shouted, reaching for her hand. He felt her soft skin, slipping through his fingers like water. The crowd pushed, pulled, and everything blurred into chaos. Where are you? He stumbled, blind in the choking haze, and finally caught her. A firm grip, panic washing over her features. What's going on? She shouted, her voice cracking with fear. But before he could respond, the loud, desperate barking of a dog cut through the noise. A police canine, racing through the smoke, nails clattering against concrete. The scent of fear and sweat filled his lungs. And then, just as abruptly, crack! A huge flash lit up the smoke, followed by a bone-rattling blast. The world fell silent for a moment, a beating heart suspended in time. Then, in the aftermath, a blood-curdling scream shattered the eerie calm. Ryan's eyes widened as he caught a glimmer of something amidst the debris. A figure emerged, stepping forward, Mark, somehow alive and crawling, his clothes torn and stained. But Ryan's heart dropped as he caught sight of Mark's hand, twitching and reaching into his jacket. A spark of realization ignited, the threads of their connection knotting tighter. "No, what?" Ryan gasped, his voice barely a whisper. Mark wasn't just a victim, he was the orchestrator of it all. Mark's haunted eyes locked onto Ryan's. "You shouldn't have trusted her," he rasped, with a voice thick with pain. The words echoed like a gunshot, slicing through the noise. "You don't know what she's—" Before he could finish, the police canine lunged forward, barking furiously. A gunshot rang out, loud, clear. The crowd recoiled. A jagged breath caught in Ryan's throat. "No, Lisa!" he cried out, the world tilting and spinning. He turned, searching wildly for her. Had she heard? Could she even be trusted? And then, the worst happened. Another figure, shadowy and quick, emerged from the chaos. A woman with familiar features stepped out, her expression cold, devoid of remorse. The shock in Ryan's chest turned to ice. "Nice to see you, Ryan," she smiled, the very image of composure in the madness. "I've been waiting." As fear clawed at his insides, everything he thought he understood shattered. There was more to the story. The lies, the betrayals, the hidden hands pulling the strings. Could Lisa be part of it? Or was this woman the real enemy? The ground beneath him shifted like quicksand, leaving him gasping for answers amidst the smoke. In that chilling moment, all Ryan felt was uncertainty and dread. What lay ahead would change everything, but he didn't know if what awaited them was salvation or damnation. Ryan stood frozen, the chaos swirling around him like a storm. The woman who had stepped into the fray, her icy smile cutting through the haze, sent a jolt of dread through him. Who was she? What did she want? He was reeling, trying to piece together the fraying threads of his world. "Ryan!" Lisa's voice sliced through the noise, panic weaving her words together. "What's happening?" But the cold woman only chuckled, her eyes glinting with something sinister. "Oh, Ryan, you really don't understand, do you? I'm the one who has been orchestrating this little game." Her voice was honeyed, but it dripped with venom. "What game?" he spat, confusion swirling with fear. He could see the crowd still reacting, people scrambling, eyes wide in shock. But they felt far away now. It was just him and this woman, his past closing in. Let's just say, she leaned in, a twisted smirk playing on her lips, "You're not who you think you are." What? The blood drained from Ryan's face, leaving him cold. "What do you mean?" But before she could answer, another explosion rocked the area. This time, it was closer. The ground trembled beneath them, and debris rained down. Screams erupted, drowning out everything. Panic exploded in Ryan's chest. "Lisa!" he shouted, scrambling for her, but the smoke and chaos swallowed her up. "Help!" Her voice was muffled, fading, and Ryan felt a tightness in his throat. He couldn't lose her now, not when it felt like everything was spiraling out of control. He pushed through the throng, a wild desperation fueling his movements. He dodged people, eyes scanning frantically, until he spotted a flurry of movement in the shadows. Lisa was there, crouched behind a car, flickers of fear in her eyes as she looked at him. Relief washed over him. But then, the cold woman stepped closer to him, eyes locked on Lisa. "Ryan, you see, it's not just about the money." She smiled sweetly, a predatory glint. "It's about bloodlines. It seems our sweet little Lisa is much more than she seems." "What?" The words slammed into him like a freight train. "What do you mean?" "Let's just say, Lisa has a family tree that's well-rooted in power." "You've been played, love," she said, her tone oozing with arrogance. Lisa froze, eyes wide with disbelief. "No, that can't be right," she whispered, shaking her head. But the woman stepped forward, malice radiating from her every movement. "It's adorable that you think you're a survivor," she retorted. "You're just another pawn in a game you don't fully understand." No. Ryan's heart raced as the realization crashed down like a tidal wave. Could it be true? But the woman wasn't done. "Your little romance here? It'll cost you everything. You and Lisa are tied together in ways you can't even imagine. Drowning in a tide of betrayal, anger, and confusion." "What truth?" he asked, barely a whisper, clinging to the thread of sanity. A deep laugh escaped her lips, rich with wicked delight. "Oh, you'll find out soon enough." In an instant, she turned, disappearing into the thickening smoke, leaving a whirlwind of questions hanging in the air. Behind him, the ground trembled again, and sirens wailed louder. Ryan swung around, searching for Lisa, all the while feeling a tremor in the very fabric of their reality. The chaos wasn't just a backdrop. It was a mirror, reflecting their disjointed fates. He could see Lisa now, her face a mix of confusion and hurt. "Ryan, what did she mean?" she pleaded, her voice raw. I don't know," he stammered, panic rising. But as he looked into her eyes, an unsettling truth dawned on him. Could their connection be deeper than either of them realized? Or was it nothing but a tangled web of deception? The city roared around them, a pulsing reminder of the chaos unfurling. In the heart of all this madness, Ryan could only grasp hold of one desperate thought. Whatever was coming next would rip apart everything he believed to be true. And as the first hints of dawn broke through the haze, one thing was certain. They were far from finished. Ryan's thoughts raced, fear gripping him tight as he searched for Lisa, his heart pounding like a drum. "Where are you?" he shouted, straining to hear her voice over the chaos. Every scream and alarm felt like another knife in his chest. "Ryan!" came her voice, choked and distant. He spotted her crouching behind a car, eyes wide with terror. Relief washed over him, a fleeting moment that quickly faded as he remembered the cold woman's words. Bloodlines? What the hell did that mean? "Let's get out of here," Ryan yelled, the urgency thick in the air. He reached for her, but the ground shook beneath them, rattling their nerves. The cries of the crowd swelled, confusion pulsing like a heartbeat. "Go! Now!" Lisa's voice trembled, pulling him back into action. They darted between cars, the smoke swirling, stinging their eyes and invading their lungs. Somewhere ahead, sirens wailed, drowning out their frantic breaths. They had to escape the chaos. But as they rounded a corner, Ryan's heart dropped. Mark lay on the ground, gasping for air, And beside him stood that cold woman, now silhouetted against the blinding lights of the police cars. "Why are you doing this?" Ryan shouted, his throat burning. The desperation clawed at him. Was Mark in on this twisted game? With a sly smile, the woman turned to Ryan, her gaze piercing. "It's simple. Family comes first, dear Ryan." "What do you mean?" He struggled to keep his voice steady, confusion cresting like a wave. The world spun with secrets, and he felt himself drowning. But before she could respond, Mark gasped, "Ryan, don't believe her." His face was pale, trembling as he clutched his side. "She's lying. You need to know the truth." Mark. Ryan moved towards him, but the woman stepped in front, eyes flashing with danger. "Enough," she hissed, sending chills down Ryan's spine. "You don't even know who you are, who she is." Lisa flinched, taking a step back. Whatever was happening, it was spiraling fast, and he could see the uncertainty flash across her face. "I don't understand," she exclaimed, nearly lost in panic. "Your parents," Mark wheezed, his breath hitching. "They aren't who you think they are, Lisa." Ryan's heart dropped. The words echoed like thunder. "What are you talking about?" he demanded, a lump forming in his throat. "What does he mean?" But just then, an explosion shook the ground, a deafening roar that drowned out everything. Debris flew, smoke choking the air. A panic-stricken crowd surged in every direction. Ryan grabbed Lisa's hand, pulling her down as rubble rained around them. "Ryan!" she screamed, eyes wide. "What's happening?" Through the chaos, he turned back to Mark, who was now struggling to rise. His eyes, once full of schemes, held something else: fear. "They took your past. You were meant to inherit everything. Lisa is—" But before he could finish, the woman lunged forward, a glint of metal in her hand. Time seemed to freeze. Suddenly, a gunshot cracked through the noise, piercing the air like a warning bell. Ryan gasped, instinctively shielding Lisa. But it wasn't her that fell. Mark crumpled to the ground, the life draining from his eyes. "No! No!" Ryan's voice shattered, a primal scream tearing through him. Around them, the world spun in a blur of chaos. Lisa clung to him, eyes wide with horror. The weight of the moment crushed down around them, choking him with the heavy revelations. As faces turned to their direction, looks of shock painted the crowd. Someone shouted, panic racing through the buzz. The secret's unraveling felt like a frayed thread pulling apart. Lisa stood there, staring at the lifeless body of Mark. Then at Ryan, fear mingling with confusion. "What does this mean for us, Ryan?" "Everything's changed," he whispered, consumed by the shock. The pieces of their lives were scattering like fragments in a storm. The truth hung in the air, sharp and undeniable, and with every breath, they teetered on the edge of something monumental. And just as Ryan thought he might grasp an answer, a chilling realization took root. The woman was still out there, watching, lurking in the shadows, armed with knowledge that could destroy them both. In this storm of chaos, the real danger was just beginning. Ryan felt the weight of the moment. Mark lay lifeless, a chilling silence stretching out as Lisa looked on in horror. The crowd was a blur, panic pulling every face into sharp focus. But Ryan's mind was racing. Everything felt surreal, the tension gripping his chest like a vice. He turned back to Lisa, desperation flooding his voice. "We need to move, now!" But before they could step away, a piercing scream pierced the air, drawing their attention. A man lurched into view, wild-eyed and frantic. He shouted words Ryan couldn't quite catch, but the fear in his voice sent ripples of alarm through the crowd. "Get back! Get back!" The man's arms flailed wildly, causing chaos to erupt anew. The crowd surged, a wave of terrified bodies, and in that moment, everything shifted again. A deafening explosion ripped through the air, and Ryan felt the shockwave slam into him, sending him reeling. Instinct kicked in. He pulled Lisa to the ground, wrapping his arms around her as dust and debris rained down. The world blurred into a cloud of ash and smoke. "Stay close," he shouted, trying to keep the panic from swallowing him whole. They crawled amidst the wreckage, fragments of their reality shattered around them. As the coughing chaos began to settle, a strange sound emerged from the rubble, a low, mechanical whirring. It seemed almost deliberate, cutting through the smoke like a knife. "What is that?" Lisa gasped, eyes wide, searching the shadows. "I don't know," Ryan strained to hear, his heart racing. But before he could process another thought, a figure emerged from the debris like a ghost. A child, no older than 10, dirt smudged across his cheeks, and eyes that shined with an unnerving calmness. "Help me!" he cried, crawling toward Ryan and Lisa, his tiny voice tremulous. "Please, they're coming!" "Who's coming?" Ryan asked, confusion flooding his mind. He looked at Lisa, who shook her head, equally bewildered. "They're going to find you!" the child cried again, glancing over his shoulder, panic flaring. "You have to go now!" In that moment, everything crashed into clarity. The air was thick with danger, secrets weaving tighter around them. It wasn't just chaos, they were in the middle of something much darker. Ryan's stomach twisted as realization struck. "Listen to me, kid!" Ryan shouted, leaning closer. "What do you know?" But before they could get answers, there was a sudden rush. A black van skidded to a halt nearby, doors flinging open, figures in dark suits pouring out. Voices barked orders, and Ryan's heart sank. They were agents, no doubt. "Run!" he hissed, yanking Lisa to her feet. They sprinted away from the chaos, the child trailing behind. But then a flicker of recognition hit him. "Wait, what are you doing here? How do you know about this?" Ryan spun around, grabbing the boy's shoulder. The child looked up, eyes wide and impossibly serious. "I saw you. I saw it all. They said they'd come for you when the time was right. And they've found you." "What do you mean?" Lisa breathed, panic creeping into her voice. The boy's gaze sharpened, a hint of sorrow washing over his features. "You don't know the truth." He hesitated, glancing back as the agents advanced. "Your blood, it runs deeper than you think. You're not just anyone." "Shut up!" Ryan shouted, pulling Lisa closer as the agents advanced, casting desperate looks into the haze. "Please!" the boy cried. "You need to understand. Lisa is special. They want her." Before he could finish, a hand shot out, grabbing the boy and yanking him back into the chaos. The agents were on them, and Ryan felt the cold grip of fear take hold. "Get away from him!" Ryan shouted, but the world exploded in noise. With a flash, One of the agents revealed a sleek device, a glowing red button poised in his grasp. "This is your last chance," he shouted, a smirk slicing across his face. "The girl or your life?" Ryan's blood ran cold. The choice before them was sickening, the stakes higher than he ever imagined. And then a shocking revelation seized him, the truth crashing down like a tidal wave. The boy wasn't just a child. He was a link to everything they'd been running from. In that heartbeat, everything changed. Whatever fragile reality they thought they understood shattered, leaving only uncertainty and dread behind. "Ryan!" Lisa's voice echoed in his ears, a tremor threading through her words. "What do we do?" But before he could respond, the agent pressed the button, and darkness enveloped them. The darkness enveloped them, swallowing everything whole. Ryan's heart hammered in his chest, panic and confusion swirling. The agent had pressed the button, and in that moment, everything felt suspended. It was as if time had stopped, waiting to unleash the chaos that lingered just beneath the surface. Then, out of the darkness, a blinding light erupted around them. Ryan shielded his eyes, bewildered. A massive explosion sent a shockwave racing through the street, scattering debris like leaves caught in a storm. The ground trembled violently, and the air filled with the stench of smoke and something more metallic, blood. "Run!" he shouted, grabbing Lisa's arm. But the world was a whirlwind of screams and chaos. The buildings around them shook, windows shattering like glass splinters, and people scrambled to escape the impending doom. As they raced away from the blast, gasping for air, Ryan caught sight of the child. The boy was still there, wide-eyed, pointing toward a nearby alley where shadows gathered. "You have to go!" he cried, his voice a shrill urgency that rang through the chaos. "This isn't what it seems!" "What are you talking about?" Ryan shouted, but the boy's gaze was fixed behind them, filled with knowing. Before Ryan could comprehend, Lisa's expression shifted, confusion melting into horror. "Ryan, look out!" she screamed, pulling him just in time as another figure lunged forward from the smoke. It was the cold woman, her face twisted in delight, holding a device that glimmered with ominous energy. "Too late," she laughed, a sound filled with dark glee. "The truth is so much worse than you imagined." In that split second, everything changed. The device in her hand sprang to life, pulsating with a hum that resonated in the air. Ryan felt a jolt of fear, a tightness in his chest as the ground convulsed again. The wall behind him cracked, and he could feel the pressure of something terrible building. Lisa's face twisted with dread as she grabbed Ryan's sleeve tightly. What did she mean? But as she spoke, the woman pressed the button again, and the air shifted like a wave, a ripple of energy washing over the crowd. All at once, the world shattered. Buildings began to collapse. A cacophony of chaos, crashing down in a terrifying blur. Ryan braced himself, pulling Lisa closer. But then, a deafening roar erupted from the device, shaping the very ground beneath them. For a moment, everything was still. All the chaos paused, silent and heavy. And then, the boy's eyes widened, filled with an overwhelming fear. "You don't understand how powerful she really is!" You're all connected, he shouted, pointing toward Lisa. What do you mean? Ryan begged, desperate to grasp the truth amid the chaos. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shuddered violently, again, and with a blinding flash, the world around Ryan warped. In an instant, he was caught in a kaleidoscope of memories, flashes of moments he didn't recognize, faces that felt foreign yet familiar. Among those faces, a woman with striking features, a resemblance to Lisa, flickered in and out. She was smiling, then crying, then betraying him. "Stop!" Ryan screamed, clutching his head, trying to shake off the overwhelming images. But the memories kept pouring in like a relentless flood. Then it hit him, a gut-wrenching realization that twisted his gut. "She's my sister," he breathed, the words spilling out before he could contain them. The crowd erupted in chaos as gasps rippled through the onlookers. Lisa froze, eyes wide. "What? No, no!" the boy screamed, tearing at his hair. "You can't, she can't know!" But it was too late. The truth hung thick in the air, a stinging weight that settled over them. The world fell silent in that moment, every heart racing, every breath held in suspense. Was this all just a game? A setup built on lies? Ryan stumbled back, the horror of it all crashing down. He could feel the ground giving way under him, not just beneath his feet, but within him. Every choice had led to this, a dark path riddled with deception. And just when Ryan thought he might find stability, another figure broke through the smoke. A tall man with familiar features, eyes filled with a fury that sent chills down his spine. It was his father, the man he thought he'd never see again. "Ryan, you have to listen," he shouted, but the chaos swallowed him whole. And there was no telling what came next. In that moment, everything shifted once more, and Ryan realized that they were all standing on the edge of a cliff, teetering between truth and catastrophe. The narrative of their lives was rewritten, a tangled web of family, betrayal, and a shocking destiny that lay just beyond the smoke. What more was there to discover? Ryan's breath hitched as the weight of the moment crashed down on him. It felt like time itself had stilled. He stood there, his father's eyes wide with an urgency that clawed at his insides. The electricity in the air tingled, a tension so thick you could slice it. "Ryan, you have to listen," his father shouted again, desperation lacing his voice. But Ryan's mind spun. Mark lay sprawled on the ground, lifeless. Lisa stood beside him, frozen in horror. Behind them, the cold woman watched, a dark satisfaction creeping across her features. He felt the stark division in their hearts, fear pumping through their veins, a need to understand intertwined with the growing panic of the crowd. Then, in an instant, everything changed. A deep rumble echoed from beneath the ground, shaking Ryan to his core. The crowd gasped collectively, eyes widening in realization, like a wave crashing against the shore. The impact reverberated through the streets, and suddenly, silence fell. Then came the flash. A blinding light erupted from the alley. It pulsed wildly, illuminating faces, casting shadows that danced like ghostly figures. Ryan squinted into the glare, heart thumping, fear quickening in his throat. "Get down!" someone screamed. A series of explosions erupted, and fires ignited like wildflowers in spring. Chaos erupting in every direction. The crowd scattered, shrieking in panic. "Ryan, we have to go!" Lisa cried, her voice strained, pulling him back from the grip of fear. But he couldn't move. Staring into that blinding light, he felt a familiar pull, an echo of voices he thought he'd buried. And then it hit him, harder than a punch to the gut, a realization that twisted his insides. The child was pointing at the light, wide eyes filled with terror. "You don't understand! She's coming for you all!" "Who?" Lisa shouted through the din, voice cracked with fear. Before he could make sense of everything, the light jerked and faded, revealing a figure stepping solemnly from its heart. The air crackled, tension weighing heavy in Ryan's chest. Then she emerged. The woman looked just like Lisa. Lines and edges softened, a serene smile plastered across her face. But there was something otherworldly about her. "Hello, Ryan," she said, voice like silk. Wrapping tightly around his thoughts. "I've been waiting for you." "Wait!" He staggered back. "Who are you?" The woman stepped forward, and recognition blossomed with a gut-wrenching twist. "I'm your mother!" The crowd gasped, breaths hitching at the shocking revelation. Confusion swept through Ryan like a cold breeze. A bitter pang lodged in his throat. "No! This can't be possible!" "Oh, but it is!" she replied smoothly, glowing like a beacon of enigmatic warmth. "And so much more rests on this moment than you can comprehend. You have power in your blood." "Stop! What do you mean?" Ryan's voice barked, holding back a whirlwind of emotions. The cold woman smirked, watching like a spectator, amusement curving her lips. "It's all falling together, isn't it? Pieces of an ancient puzzle." Lisa's eyes shot back and forth between Ryan and the woman, stunned into silence. "Ryan, what does she mean?" Suddenly, the boy broke through the haze. "No, she's lying! That's not your mother! She's a trickster!" Everything shattered then. The false mother laughed, a sound like cracking ice. "You think you can undermine my truth, child?" She smiled cruelly, and just like that, the atmosphere shifted, a chill crawling up Ryan's spine. "Tell him, Ryan!" The boy's voice cracked, an urgency that pushed against Ryan's heart. "You must know what she's hiding." "What do you know?" Ryan demanded, eyes locked onto the mysterious child. "I've seen it," the boy stammered. "I've seen the darkness inside her, the false love. She wants to control you." And just like that, the light dimmed, shadows creeping again, uncertainty wrapping around them like a shroud. Ryan felt his world tip even further, confusion mixing with dread. Everything he thought was real cracked under the pressure of this mind-numbing shift. As the crowd reacted, screams rising again, the thread of his life began to unravel, and he realized truth, love, legacy, they were all up for grabs, and nothing would be the same again. In that swirling chaos, one thing became clear. The game had changed entirely. The shadows danced as the chaos around them blurred into a grotesque display of panic. Ryan's chest tightened, the weight of uncertainty growing heavier. He couldn't look away from the woman claiming to be his mother, her familiar features twisting with deceitful grace. Every heartbeat echoed in his ears, drowning out Lisa's frantic questions. "Ryan, we need to get out of here," she urged, tugging at his arm. But he was frozen, transfixed by the terrible revelation hanging in the air. Just then, the boy's voice broke through the fog of confusion like a shot. "She's a liar! She's not your mother!" he shouted. desperation spilling from his lips. "She wants to trap you." Letting those words settle, Ryan's mind reeled. Was it true? Was everything he thought he knew built on a foundation of lies? Suddenly, an explosion ripped apart the night, shaking the ground beneath them. "Get back!" someone yelled, but it was too late. A bright flash blinded Ryan, forcing him to shield his eyes. In that moment of disorientation, chaos erupted anew. Shouts mixed with the crackling of fire, people screaming and stumbling in every direction as the scene unraveled. He turned, reaching for Lisa, but she was swallowed by the swirling panic. "Lisa!" he shouted, panic igniting his voice. Just then, the cold woman leered, her eyes dancing with delight. "It's happening!" she laughed, the sound chilling him to the bone. The air crackled ominously. Everything felt like it was about to shatter. Just then, he caught sight of the boy, his expression twisted with determination. "You have to trust me." He pushed toward Ryan and Lisa, the urgency clear in his wide eyes. "Run to the truck!" Without thinking, Ryan grabbed Lisa's hand. "Run!" he shouted, dragging her through the chaos. They dashed toward a parked red pickup, the boy just ahead. Heart pounding, Ryan felt a rush of adrenaline. But as they reached the truck, the boy turned, eyes filled with an intensity that pierced through the chaos. "It's all connected! The shadows, the truth. It all leads back to her." Then, amidst the chaos, a blinding beam shot out from the woman. It was a vortex of light, pulsating like a heartbeat. And in an instant, everything froze. Shadows warped around them. Sculptures of agony and fear stood suspended in midair. The cold woman smiled, satisfaction curling her lips. "I'll show you the truth," she declared with a fierce intensity. With a violent snap, the light imploded, collapsing back in on itself. A wave of energy washed over Ryan, sweeping him off his feet. Gasping, he felt the world shift, like he was being pulled through a tunnel. Then everything changed. They emerged, not in the street, but in a dark room, the air heavy and thick. Dust motes floated in the dim light, and around them were pictures, photographs, framing their lives, but not as Ryan knew them. Faces he recognized, but didn't fully understand, stared back at him. "Welcome to your reality," the woman said, her voice echoing unnaturally. The walls were plastered with images of him, of Lisa, and even Mark, all processed through a lens Ryan had never seen before. It hit him like a freight train. The stickers and notes covered every inch. Messages scribbled in frantic handwriting. "You are chosen. End the cycle. Find the key." Ryan staggered back, wonder mixed with dread. "What is this?" he gasped, grabbing Lisa's arm tighter. Suddenly, the boy's voice broke through again. "This is what they've hidden from you. A design, a way of control." Ryan's heart raced, every word igniting fear. "No, this can't be real." He turned, desperately searching for an escape. But there, among the chaos, stood a placid figure, the woman's likeness rippling, as if she existed in more than one place at once. "Are you ready to discover the truth?" she taunted, the room flickering with energy. Then, without warning, she faded, replaced by an image from Ryan's past, his father. But there was something different about him. A shadowy smirk flickered across his face. "Ryan," the voice echoed, deeper and darker, "your bloodline has the power to rewrite this reality." The truth slammed into him, and he felt the very fabric of his identity tearing apart. They were in a game of manipulation, a twisted symphony orchestrated by forces beyond their comprehension. "Where do we go from here?" Ryan whispered, feeling a crushing weight settle over him. Unknown forces loomed, twisting around them, and just like that, the light went out. The boy, Lisa, even the oppressive atmosphere vanished. The room imploded back into darkness, leaving Ryan gasping for air, haunted by the echoes of his shattered world. And just when he thought he could push through the despair, a flicker of light appeared ahead, a path leading deeper into the unknown. Desperation thrummed in his chest. Who was he really? Who was Lisa? What secrets still lay buried, waiting to be unearthed? With dread churning in his gut, Ryan knew this was just the beginning, and the darkness wasn't finished with him yet. Ryan blinked, trying to shake off the haze that enveloped him. The dim room pulsed with energy, real and raw. His mother's familiar face twisted into something monstrous, her eyes filled with a predatory glint. Each breath felt stitched with dread, as if the air itself was conspiring against him. "Ryan, you were meant to be part of this," she taunted, stepping closer. The shadows closed in, like hungry wolves, whispering secrets too dark to comprehend. You're not my mother!" he shouted, clenching his fists, the lump in his throat growing heavier. Lisa stood firm beside him, locking eyes with Ryan, determination flickering alive in her gaze. "Yes, I am! You just don't remember," she screamed back, the words bursting forth like splintering glass. "You were always meant to lead, to control!" The boy darted forward, eyes wide, desperate. "You have to fight her! She's just using you!" "Enough!" The woman's voice cracked like thunder. In that moment, Ryan felt the energy around them coalesce, crackling with tension. The shadows shivered, the weight of the truth threatening to crush him. "Listen, Ryan," the boy urged, glancing nervously at the flickering shadows. "You have power, but it's not what she thinks. It's about choice." In the whirlwind of desperation, clarity began to seep through Ryan's foggy thoughts. He looked at Lisa. She was strong, stronger than he ever realized. He could feel it, the current of hope flowing between them. "Mom, or whoever," he said slowly, "I choose my own path." The moment those words left his mouth, a shock wave rippled through the room, sending the shadows squirming back. "Ryan, no!" his mother shrieked, her face twisting, fear and rage carving deep lines in her features. "Together," Ryan said, gripping Lisa's hand tighter, grounding them both. "We're stronger together." The boy nodded, stepping closer. "Believe in the light. It's in you." Maybe he was right. Maybe this was his chance. The chance to rewrite his story. The dark energy surged, swirling around them like a tempest. But now, it felt different. A spark ignited at the very core of Ryan's being. It lit up the shadows, illuminating the hidden corners of his heart. "Let's go!" he yelled, and they rushed toward the glowing light that beckoned in the distance. The shadows shrieked, bending and twisting, but they pressed on. With each step, more power surged through him, his fears unraveling into a tapestry of strength. "You're nothing without me!" his mother screamed, reaching out with desperately clawing fingers. But the light grew brighter, blinding her for just a moment. The trio dove into the glowing vortex, heartbeats racing. "We can do this!" Lisa shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "We can be free!" The shadows recoiled, their grasp releasing as they felt the warmth radiating from Ryan and Lisa. The energy pulsated, wrapping them in its embrace, lifting them as they soared towards the light. And with a final push, they broke free. Everything around them exploded into brightness, a world reborn, filled with color and clarity. The darkness was behind them. They'd escaped. Ryan turned to Lisa, breathless, her eyes sparkling with hope. "We did it!" he whispered. But as they stood there, a patter of soft footsteps caught their attention. The boy lingered, a small smile tracing his lips. "You'll need each other now more than ever," he warned, glancing back at the fading shadows. "The fight isn't over. There will always be those who seek power." Just as the weight of his words settled in, everything began to fade into a shimmering mist, winking out of reality. "Remember," the boy called, "your choices create your legacy." Then silence fell. Ryan stood there, hand intertwined with Lisa's, heart pounding. The future lay open before them, a vast expanse of possibilities. They took a step forward together, ready to face whatever lay ahead. But just as the world sparkled, a shadow flickered at the edge of their sight, pricking Ryan's instinct. Was this truly the end, or just the beginning of something darker? Before you go, this is the moment to show your support. You must subscribe now so you don't miss out on any exclusive stories coming your way. Smash the like button now to help feed the algorithm and keep our community thriving. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the finale. We want to hear everything you have to say. Don't wait 1 second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know about this ending. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel.